Why, hello. I am writing after a couple of days digesting about an extraordinary event on Saturday celebrating the Groundhog Day Festival in Woodstock, Illinois. The Groundhog Day Festival is in honor of the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. And if you've never seen it, it's more than just a movie of a guy repeating the same day over and over again, but really it's a poem about life in the form of a movie that takes place in a beautiful downtown square in McHenry County, Illinois. And I was invited to participate in this vendor market. And the vendor market was an indoor part of the festival that took place in this multi level shopping mall that's filled with a variety of local entrepreneurs and activists and some of the most magical people on the planet. And I felt like I was given this deadline from the universe because I had decided I wanted to do something to grow a bookish collective, but I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do. And so I figured if I had set a date of some sort, that it would help me to kind of pare it down and give me something to work towards. And lo and behold, here was this vendor festival and this invitation to show up. And I did my best to kind of manage my own expectations. I've never been on that side of a vendor fest or a vendor booth. I've been on that side of a bedside. I've served and been on stage in a work capacity before, but I've never, or I guess, well, selling Girl Scout cookies. But besides that, I had never been like in this dedicated space to sell myself in that capacity. So I didn't want to go there thinking I was going to, change the whole world, but I did want to arrive with some intentions. So I talked to my confidants leading up to the event about what I hoped to bring to the community, what I hope to do as I grow my business. And I, instead of going there with the intention to give information or to provide any type of service or product, I felt like I was really going there to ask a question or a few questions from people who live in the McHenry County area. But it turned out I didn't just meet people from that area. There were people from all over the country who showed up for this event. So it was pretty cool because I met some folks that, like, I met somebody from Palatine who was a Navy veteran and former deep sea diver, well, probably still a diver, but former Navy deep sea diver who, in his 50 somethings, now volunteers his time playing bingo with veterans. But it wasn't just a fun conversation about serving with veterans. He let me know about a grant program through the VA, and maybe this growing collective might be able to be funded by a grant, and he would send me the information. And I met a couple from southern Indiana who it was like a pilgrimage to come to this festival, and they celebrate both of their favorite movie. They celebrate the festival like it's this self-care weekend. And they were a social worker, the couple. One was a social worker and the other was a high school teacher who teaches early childhood education to high school students. And it's just like, I think it's so beautiful how all of these human stories get woven together. And we all just showed up in real life to hang out for a day at the Woodstock Square, and that people took the time to stop at the booth, to look around at what was on the table, and to chat. And a couple of people were intrigued by Gary's ice dyeing, and not just intrigued by it, they looked at his tie dyes and went, "Oh, that's ice dye." And they started going on about the type of dye and what was your process, and oh, how did you, and I, to be able to jump into the middle about an art form or about a topic of any kind is a special type of magic that I thought it was delightful that we both got to enjoy our own little doses of magic throughout the day. And so I know what it takes to show up in real life. I drove an hour to get there and an hour to get back. Some people drove multiple hours to spend their weekend in this way, and then to give some of your time in conversation, I try not to take that for granted. And so when I went there with this question or these questions about what's your experience with care in the community, it depended on where the conversation went. I was kind of following the lead of the person I was talking with, but more often than not, it was like this blooming conversation. This like I don't know a good way to describe it, but it was just this continual unfolding of not always an answer, but an affirmation. Like, yeah, you know what I mean. And now we can start from it is similar to what that was like caring for your mother or what you're doing to care for your brother unexpectedly. There were many similar stories between the people that I spoke with over the weekend, with each other and with other people I've talked to over time or what I've witnessed in my nursing career. So I guess the affirmation that I got is that caregivers and care recipients on both sides of the bedside do need guidance, need a web of support, or would like a web of support, and would benefit from feeling heard and feeling witnessed and having a place to talk through the challenges of being in that caregiving role. Whether we sign up for it as our profession, like teachers and nurses and therapists, or if it's something that we're born into as a parent or as a child of an aging parent or sibling or whoever, there is an essential part of this that keeps coming back to the care of the caregivers. That it's all too easy to try to pour from an empty cup. And I've tried it, it does not work. But I have a partner who looks out for my cup and who notices when my cup is getting low and reminds me to nurse myself or nurses me when I'm not able to nurse myself. And when we're in a caregiving role, it is not always easy to know how full or empty our cup or our bucket has become. So, the guidance and the navigation and the care across the continuum, I've got that all kind of swirling around in my mind, going, well, what do I do next? I have this information. I have access to other humans who know a lot about a lot of pieces of the care spectrum and tools and resources that are out there. And I can kind of see it coming together almost like a stew. So I'd say my next steps are I would like to do an event like this again. It doesn't have to be on the scale of a 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. vendor fair, but at a coffee shop or at a library or at some other market type of space. I would really enjoy doing this again. And I think if I were to do it again, I brought with me this rewrite your mind elixir bead activity that's not an iteration of, but it's based on the 3 minute mental makeover. And the nice thing about the beads was that it gave us something to hold and talk about as the conversation went on to self care or care for others. And so I would like to continue to share these rhyme beads and the 3 minute mental makeover and kind of have that as this tangible type of activity. And I would like to continue to develop an online community because in real life, that's where I get the most medicine is by showing up in person. But, and there is a lot to be said for connecting people to information as easily as possible in a virtual environment too. So I guess I'm thinking both about building an online community while also exploring that wilderness of people in real life and just seeing what grows from there. So yeah, I am really thrilled that an idea became an action and that action is becoming this like a movement, and that's pretty radical. to get to say that as a human being, to see my idea coming to life. So, yeah, thank you for being here. I look forward to keeping this conversation going, and I welcome your comments, your questions, a nudge in the next direction, and that's all I've got. So I said 5 minutes, I doubled it, but I think it was worth the 10 total minute post, and take good care. Love, Jessie.